Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Late night, after midnight, Cowboys lose to Philly 24-20. Just quick post game reaction. And, feel free to, let me know, chime in the comments. Like I said in the thing, it was a very bizarre football game, weird football game, weird NFL opener, probably the most bizarre sequence we've ever seen for an NFL opener that I can remember. When you think about after kickoff, a guy busts up his knee. There's a pretty severe injury, and then Jalen Carter spits in Dak's face before a snap is even taken. That's going to dominate, I think, a lot of the airwaves and whatnot. Maybe it dials down since we see a lot of the miscommunication. I don't know. Plus, the Eagles still were able to win the game. I think it would be a bigger story if the Cowboys were able to pull it out. Um, but tough loss for Dallas. Look, I'm encouraged, and I think there's two lanes of thought, but I'm not down for moral victories or anything like that. This loss sucks. This loss hurts. I don't like losing to Philly. It's F Philly all day. I can't stand that team. I can't stand that fan base. I like the fight that we had. I felt that this felt like a rivalry game. It didn't just feel like another division game. It didn't just feel like, you know, two teams that are just rough or whatever. Like we really channeled that Dallas Philly true energy, especially in Philly. But Brian Schottenheimer, this coaching staff, the return of Dak Prescott, the debut of George Pickens in a Cowboys uniform, the debut of Javonte Williams, the debut of Tyler Booker, which everybody had their moments, good or bad, but I just felt like it sucks that they weren't rewarded for the efforts of victory, because it's a division loss. And I know we play the Giants next week, and the Cowboys are going to be favored, but depending on what happens, especially what happens, we'll see what the Giants do against Washington on Sunday. But the point is, that's in the Cowboys historically have been great against the Giants, but it's a must-win game. It's a must-win game, and um, it sucks. It just sucks to have lost this game. I'm going to get to the weather delay and the impact there. The problem with the weather delay from our thing though is what happened 45 seconds before the weather delay, which was probably the biggest play of the game. And there's a lot you could look at. We'll get to CeeDee Lamb. We'll get to some of the defensive stuff. But probably the biggest play of the game was the Miles Sanders fumble. I mean, that's coming. Jaden Blue has to be activated at this point. I mean, he can't be worse. I'm sorry. I have a short leash for veterans like that. Miles Sanders, who I already was very skeptical about being on this roster. Um, you got walked down by a linebacker. Zach Bond's a really good player, but you got walked down by Zach Bond. You're supposed to be a sub 4.5 guy. You're supposed to run, 4.48, 4.49. Maybe now he's around 4.5. Even still, he looked painfully slow for somebody that's supposed to be, the complimentary, guy to Javonte. Like, what are you in there for? Jaden Blue dusts that guy. Like that, which is why you drafted him. So, and I know Jaden has his problems with the fumbles. I actually think Jaden's a little bit further ahead with pass pro than he is with ball security, being a Texas fan. But the Miles Sanders Like, there's a reason why he's not in Philly anymore. There's a reason why he's not in Carolina anymore after the money. There's a reason. And I know at least with Javante, it was about his health and recovering from ACL. With Miles Sanders, things like ball security, things like just the moment, like this type of game against this type of team. And you guys hear this when I cover college football. When you're playing these type of teams and these type of moments, margin is so thin. Margin is so thin. So to have that occur right in that moment, and then the weather delay happens. Now Dak's tackle was unbelievable because it kept it a one score game and it kept them over there. No one scored after the weather delay. So the weather delay clearly impacted the momentum of both teams. I really think it impacted the trenches more than the skill players because the Dallas offensive line got really leaky after that. And if you notice, the Eagles offensive line seemed, I mean, outside of tush push, they seemed to get tired too. So, you saw the issues that Landon Dickerson was having. It just didn't seem to, it seemed to have impacted the offensive line of both teams because these teams were flying up and down the field, Cowboys run and pass, Eagles just being physical and just run the football really down our throats. Our defensive guys, the first, 60 to three-quarters of the game, really struggled to get off blocks and they look slow. But after the weather delay, the intensity picked up, the interior line play picked up. It seemed that we were rallying to the football more. Matt Eberflus got a little bit more comfortable with some of the adjustments of blitzing from depth. Even though we weren't necessarily getting all these tackles for a loss, it was disruptive, right? The corner blitzes, the safety blitzes, some of the things that he did just to mix it up because we saw really we kind of just stayed straight coverage in the first half. And yeah, it benefited us because we really didn't allow Devontae Smith and especially AJ Brown to do anything. But why would the Eagles have to force that if they're getting 8 yards a clip on the ground between Saquon and Jalen Hurts? What do I need to throw the ball for? So while we can pat ourselves on the back about the coverage and the game plan, I'm not mad at it. At the end of the day, we weren't successful. We didn't win the football game. We didn't win the football game, and so you know this is now post mortem for this loss. Again, I'm not pissed off at the team. I'm proud of the effort. I think this team does play for Schotty. I think the commitment to physicality is real. Very impressed with the run stuff, the gap schemes, all that. For me, that's probably that's the biggest thing I'm excited about moving forward after this game is the fact that we're going to be, we might be able to legitimately run the football in against a lot of teams. Um, and the motion and the utilization of Cavante Turpin. Dak's only going to get more comfortable with George Pickens. That remember this is their first football game together. No preseason reps, but let's address the elephant in the room. I mean, I love CeeDee Lamb, baller, deserved his money. He's going to have an amazing season. Statistically, tonight he had 7 catches, a $113. So he got his $110, 7 catches, a $110. Those drops were absolutely brutal. I tweeted when we had the first drive where we finally punted. The first time we punted was that 3rd and 10, and the ball ricocheted up in the air, and it was almost intercepted. People are like, "Oh, Dak almost had a couple picks." Go look at those almost picks. One was the ball went literally through CD, like couldn't have been placed better. Put it on his hands, on his face mask, ricochets up into the air. We have to punt. That's third down that happened. That was a that was a really, really, really difficult play. That play was heavily contested. He's a $38 million receiver. He's one of the best receivers in the world. That's a drop for him. And the play I'm talking about wasn't that contested because he didn't even get hit. The play I'm talking about and the drop he had, the drop he had earlier in the first half was contested, but the guy's on his back. You got to make that catch. You're too good of a player. Can't make that excuse. Not when the ball is that much on you. Michael Irvin would never say, "Oh, heavily." I'm not trying to pick on you, Drew, but like that's a drop. No excuses. Not in a game like this. Not in a game like this, sir. If I'm in the pocket, I mean, let's talk about the big drop. On that 45-yard dot that Dak threw. He's in the pocket getting hit. You got these D linemen all over the place. Our protection at the end of the game was struggling. Let's be honest, including Tyler Booker, we were struggling to hold up in protection. So when we finally got a little bit of time for Dak to really work down the field, we get the perfect beater, perfect opportunity. He dropped that ball in the bucket. It's not even like there was heat on the ball. He literally dropped it in the bucket. Now, is he looking at Reed Blankenship out of the corner of his eye? Probably. I don't care though. That's why you're supposed to be one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL. You're supposed to be a number one receiver in the league. We need it. We need the game is on the line. The game is on the line. And I'm not going to beat up CD too much about it because he's done so much more good than this. And I know, I think last season he actually had an issue with some drops early on too. So I don't know what it is. But the only one I'm really gonna give a little bit more grace to CD is the throw on fourth down, which was a good. That's where you want the ball to go against that coverage. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's only 3 yards. You got to go underneath." The Eagles were playing for that. Vic Fangio sent heaters, had those linebackers just looking underneath. You had to go over top. You had to go over top. But that was a tough catch. However, we've seen guys make those catches. We've seen guys reel that in. And the ball was actually placed in where he could have made a diving catch and wouldn't have really gotten. I know somebody else was coming over top, but ball was kind of fit in between there to where he wouldn't have gotten killed. He would have just gone straight to the ground. Diving catch, tough. But also it's like, hey, I need you to make up for the last one where I dropped it in the bucket. And I'm back here. If I'm Dak, I'm back here like trying to navigate all of these dudes that are trying to take my head off back here in Philly. So it was a waste of a performance in Dak's return. I mean, clearly, and here's the thing. This is why I'm frustrated. We're in win now. For those who are not clear or aware, the Cowboys are in win now mode. I want to make that explicitly clear. Anytime you're paying, I mean, look at Dak's contract and what we're paying him. He's here for another 3 or 4 years. Same with CD. George Pickens on a 1-year deal right now. We'll see. Hopefully we'll extend him. But all these guys, right? All these guys are like, it's about now. That's why they've drafted all these offensive linemen to help this situation. I think we're going to get there, especially with that interior offensive line that I'm very, very excited about. But we can't blow opportunities like that. Yeah, if he makes the diving catch, of course, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but it's just early season adversity that we face right there, and we are definitely in win now mode. I will say this, in the first half, I was beside myself with the effort. I don't know what was going on defensively. Um, and I understand, again, we were playing coverage, but it just was like, I mean, Jesus, guys, like it felt like we had 11 Jags on the field. Like nobody was able to do anything, and it was just the path of least resistance. But I do give credit to Matt Eberflus and guys like Solomon Thomas, guys like Houston, Marshawn Nealon, Kenny Clark, who made his Cowboy debut. Um, I don't think our linebacker play was the best throughout, especially you guys know that they're going to do a quarterback draw. They're going empty with with the game on the line. He's not throwing the ball twice in a row. Honestly, I would have made him throw. But they're going empty. What the hell you think you're like? They're It's clearly a QB draw. But Jalen Hurts just nimble enough to get you out of position and get those yards. So I have to give credit to Jalen Hurts for making those plays and converting. And he played winning football tonight. That what you saw tonight was the Jalen Hurts from Bama. That was like the Bama Jalen Hurts. And I mean that in a good way. I mean that in a good way, right? Protecting the football, moving the chains, using his athleticism, using his legs, married with the running backs, and then making timely short throws when needed. He did hit on the big chunk one to Jahan Dotson over Elam, but other than that, he didn't. He wasn't asked to do that much. Um, so it's just unfortunate. I mean, that was a winnable game for Dallas. I don't like losing games like that. I don't like losing games where it's like everything's on the table, prime for an upset against your rival. We want to pull those games out because you never know what you'll need on the back end, especially later in the season. And against a good team like that, against a good team like that, yes, the run game, I'm encouraged. Javante looks like he has some juice. These are good things. George is only going to get more acclimated into the offense. I think George is only going to get more acclimated to the offense for sure. But the drop pat, like Jake Ferguson got paid and really got what the money he got because he didn't have a good 2024. 2023, Jake Ferguson makes that catch in the end zone. I know he got his head torn off, and those are dangerous passes, those seam balls. But when you're when it's 3rd and 20, you got to fit it somewhere. And they're going to play the fade to Pickens. They're going to play CD. So, we almost hit it. Dak was a little short on that ball that hit Zach Bond in the head. Totally understand that ball was slightly underthrown. That second one hit him in the chest before he ever got hit. Before Reed Blankenship ever got hit. Now, if Reed Blankenship had hit him and knocked the ball out, that's different. But he had dropped the ball already before Reed Blankenship hit him. Luckily, you got the penalty for sports, for he unnecessary roughness because he couldn't protect himself. But we squandered that one away and never scored again. Never scored again. Thank you for the super chat, Drew. I appreciate it. Thoughts on spitting? The spitting thing clearly was a misunderstanding. I agree. I don't know. I'm not that I was down there, but I understand what Jason Garrett reported about what Dak said made a lot of sense. About I honestly, my only thoughts on that is it shows why Jalen Carter wasn't the number one pick in that draft. Do y'all remember how dominant he was at Georgia? Especially like that TCU game, like the whole playoffs, the whole SEC. Jalen Carter was like clearly the best guy in the draft. Clear, like, and that was a draft with our guys like Bijan in them, right? Jalen Carter was clearly the best football player in that draft, and he went ninth overall. He went ninth. And it's because of just poor discernment, temperament, what have you. I don't care, even if it is a misunderstanding, you can't spit on somebody. Spitting on, like, even if you think you were disrespected because he spit on the ground in front of you, that still doesn't give you the right to spit on somebody. You can pull up and whatever. So, Drew, what Dak told Jason Garrett was he had spit over BB and the lineman, and when and Jalen Carter said, like, after he spit, Jalen Carter, because he kind of was like looking towards him in their huddle, and he said, Jalen Carter said, were you spitting at me? And that's when Dak smiled, and you can see in the video Dak smiles, and that's when Dak's walking towards him. And he's like, why would I spit at you? Why would I be spitting at you? And Jalen Carter, I guess, did not hear what he was saying or trying to say. And as he's saying, why would I spit at you? Jalen Carter just goes and spits on him. That's immaturity. That's immaturity. And to me, the way it was described is kind of how, like, that's the body language I was getting. Because why else would Jalen Carter be walking towards our huddle? It makes no sense. So, you know, I mean, the people in the Eagles organization aren't happy about that, because it's just such a it's just immature. It's just immature. Now, if you want to say that Dak was playing 4D chess and got the guy to rage out of the game, mate, sure. I honestly believe him. I don't know why he would lie, um, because he wasn't talking to him before he spit. You can see it. He was looking down and spit on the ground. And why is Jalen Carter the only person offended? There was 11 Eagles standing there when he spit. Jalen Carter just happened to be the one, saying, "Oh, why are you spit?" It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But that's what immature players do. And this is a guy who has been the anchor of a national championship team, an anchor of a Super Bowl winning team. Think about how disruptive Jalen Carter was in this past Super Bowl. So hell yeah, it made a difference. It's a long, very long-winded way of answering your original question to your super chat. Hell yeah, it made a difference. Now, we did draft Tyler Booker to help us. You always are trying to attack the teams in your division, especially when there's good teams like Philly in your division. You're going to build your team to try to beat them. We're built for Philly. This is why I was very confident coming into the game that Dallas not only could compete but win this game. I really felt that Dallas could win this game. I said that on Landon's show. And the reason being is the matchups. I knew we had very good matchups with the corners. I felt like against Vic Fangio's defense, I'm not as worried about the zones and the confusion and the cover six stuff if we were able to establish some sort of run game, which we were able to do, and then build off of that. Vic's scheme is very different if you're able to establish the run around the ball. Like Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Kansas City couldn't run the ball. So, it's tough. Now, Dallas ended up doing 22 carries, 120 yards rushing, so it's 5.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns in between the tackles in the red zone. So Javonte Williams, just good hard running in those situations. Now we know, again, the Miles Sanders run was 49 yards on one run. Hopefully here's one thing I do want to see under the Schottenheimer regime and this staff. And this is what I want to see. I don't think it'll happen because the old man's still in charge and we're still a family business and unserious as an organization. But if we were serious, you don't hesitate to make moves like that. You don't hesitate. I know they got Maffa on the injury thing, but like at some point, Jaden Blue and Maffa are both going to be would be back there for me with Javante, and I would just let go of Miles Sanders. I'm done. I'm already done. I don't see the value that he brings to the team. I don't like the way he runs. That run, he should have scored a touchdown on that run. He looked so slow in the open field. It's not even funny. And then you don't have ball security. You're not elite in the pass game anymore. He used to be a great guy in the pass game. Like, he's washed. He's washed. Go get me some runners. At least if we're going to have people struggling with ball security, let it be the young boys. Let it be the young boys. But I'm here with you, Evan. The play designs, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this with Schotty. The best thing he did was bringing in Clayton Adams and Connor Riley. Clayton Adams is now our offensive coordinator. Now, Schotty's calling the plays. Okay, Schotty's calling the plays. But Clayton Adams, who for me, I was one of the guys that was really high on Mike McDaniel when he was in anytime he was with the Shanahans. I knew he was the run god. He was the guy drawing up the run. One of the reasons why they were so great outside zone all those years, just Shanahan staples. But McDaniel's one of those guys, right? I had Clayton Adams in that tier. You know why? I learned about Clayton Adams 2 years ago when Kyler Murray came back from ACL and the Cardinals were absolute dog shit, terrible. And the Cardinals went to Philly and beat Philly. This is when Philly was sliding, but they beat them when Philly was trying to just get home field and clinch. And James Conner and them ran all over, but it wasn't just the same. It was what you saw tonight. And I'm like, and I said, that's what I was telling Andy. I was like, I will know if they're a man of their word if I see the same type of creativity in the run game, where your tight ends are lining up, how you're using motion, how we're pulling guards, right? Are we manipulating the linebackers? Are we manipulating the gaps? I saw all of those things tonight. Connor Riley, offensive line coach, Cooper Beebe's coach back at Kansas State. What is Kansas State known for, right? Especially in the trenches when it comes to run blocking. So those two together, and we know Schotty's, probably more. He's always been stronger with the run game than he has as a coordinator just with throw game. But throw game is really on Dak now, which I'm fine with if we're going to be run based, because now I'm basically asking, what we're trying to do is have the offense we had from, Dak's early time, like 2016, right? Where it's run first, but now I have a veteran Dak with better weapons. That's what we're trying. That's the goal, is to get back to that type of run game with more nuance, because we weren't even that nuanced. We just had a special runner in Zeke. Prime Zeke was special. You can cue up the Vince McMahon. He was special. Prime Zeke was special. Prime Zeke takes that one to the house. So, yeah, the Miles Sanders thing that fumble was worse than the CD drops, because that was it. We were already in the scoring area, and then the weather delay happens. Disastrous fumble, and it's a fumble after you don't score. Yeesh. Yeesh. Get Jaden Blue in there. Come on, let's get him active. If his ankle's okay and he's healthy, ready to go, I can't tolerate old heads making mistakes like that, especially dudes that are washed. We're in win now mode. And one of the things I've said with young backs is use the backs, use their kit because all of them only have so many carries in their bodies until they all become washed. Some guys have way more carries in their bodies than others. But in this particular case, like I was just talking about Zeke. Remember how when Zeke came in the league, he would run away from everybody. Like versus when we load him. DeMarco Murray, same thing before that. They all eventually they all have a breaking point. And some people's comes quicker. Like Todd Gurley's came quicker than Zeke's did, but Zeke's came quicker than Derrick Henry's, who's still not out of carries in his body. But eventually that time will come where he's not running away from people anymore and he's not making those special plays. And you'll see it. Miles Sanders is not even the guy he was 2 or 3 years ago on the Eagles. Not even close. Not even close. The Miles Sanders that was on the Eagles a couple years ago at least would have scored. He's always had fumble problems. He's always had ball security issues. But the boy could run, the boy was explosive, and he could catch the football. And nah, today was not it. Even with the explosive. It was not it. And the reason why it's nitpicky of us to go there is because this was a game against the Super Bowl champs, a game against a team that a lot of people are picking to win the NFC again. We could have made a big statement. And I hate being on this side, even in Schottenheimer's debut. I hate being on this side of, damn it, we were close. We were right there. Dak's back. We haven't seen him with no sleeve on the throwing arm since in 7 years. I don't know. Maybe without the sleeve, he's more accurate because he was spending that thing today. Dak looks sure. That's encouraging. Now, what we need from Dak is to be consistent. If he's going to spin it like that every week, you're definitely in win now mode. But right now, we have time will tell how consistent he is with his ball placement, with just seeing it. Like today, it felt like early we were able to get him in a rhythm. We were able to run the ball. It's funny how a quarterback can look when he has any semblance of a run game. Yes, I agree with this too. Dak was avoiding sacks. Footwork seemed cleaner. He didn't seem sluggish like last season. Yeah, looked like a veteran, but nimble, handling his business on the road. I thought he did a great job of even when they got immediate pressure of just getting ball to his checkdowns, getting the ball out. Didn't have, Dax had a propensity to take some sacks, but then when he also showed his like country ass strength. Jordan Davis was on the man's back and he got out of it. Jordan Davis is one of the biggest human beings in the NFL, y'all. Did y'all see that play? Jordan Davis was literally on that man's back. And Dak's country strong ass threw him off and was able to get a couple yards. So it's like, that's the four I know. That's the four I've been defending, and I will continue to defend. Because the only reason why he gets the slander he gets is because he wears that star. It's the only reason. I've said this since he's been on the Cowboys. If Dak Prescott had been the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans all this time, he would be looked at and revered in the same breath as Steve McNair. That's how people would look at him. But because you play under this spotlight for this team, for this owner, for this fan base, and already how the media comes in looking at it, he's judged under the most ridiculous microscope. And we're seeing that right now in college with guys like Arch, right? Where you're under a microscope and people are judging every single throw. Or when Shador, when he was playing for the Browns, every single throw was scrutinized. When he was at Colorado, whether you loved him or hate him, like every single thing they do was scrutinized. So yeah, he'd be Herb. He'd be people love Herbert, and It's funny how people can understand context when it comes to Justin Herbert. Oh man, just like tonight, RJ Ochoa, like what are you doing, dude? Covers the Cowboys, blocking the boys, all that stuff. RJ Ochoa is like, well, Dak has to own some of this too. He had 4 drives where they didn't score. Brother, were you watching the game? Did you not see those defensive linemen beating our guys and he's still dropping dimes 40, 50 yards down the field? And my man 88 just couldn't come through tonight for whatever reason. Did you miss did your TV go a different direction during the weather delay? What were you watching? The drive before that, where we had to punt and he checked it down to Javante on third down, there was they were getting instant pressure. They were getting literally instant pressure. Anytime he had a lick of decent protection, the ball not only went where it was supposed to go, he was throwing dimes. Like look at the NFL narrative. I'm talking about people that don't even cover the Cowboys. I'm talking about people that cover the league. Go look at social media. They're like, yo, Dak was now like it was fun to watch. Like, didn't know he could just drop. Like, people were actually surprised. He was in good spirits. Yep, pumping up the sideline. It was crazy too because again he missed so much time last year, and it was just great to have 4 back lead the team. Like you could tell the difference. Like if he's out there, we at least have a chance. Even with the no-name scrappy defense that came on at the end of the game, to their credit. But you felt like you have a chance. Now he's slimmed down, and you can tell. Hopefully, health willing. If that's the guy we're going to get all year, um, the stats will not reflect his Pro Football Focus grade might, but his QBR and all that looks very average and pedestrian. But I mean, when you think about the amount of drops that CD had, CD probably dropped over 80 yards. CD may have been able to go for 200. And people saying, here's the other thing. This is why this is important. Let's pay attention to this. He will get more with George Pickens. That will come. George only had 4 targets tonight. But Quinyon Mitchell, one of the better corners in the league, one of the up and coming stars in this league. Who was Quinyon Mitchell on for majority of the game? Don't worry, I'll wait. But I'll let you know. It was George Pickens. He was on George Pickens for majority of the game. So what they thought they could do was put their best corner on George and then really kind of try to bracket CD. Adoree Jackson was technically covering him for most of the time, but they would have Cooper DeJean, floating around and Reed Blankenship floating around. So they tried that. But anytime there was just man one-on-one opportunities, CD has not had that much space to work since Amari Cooper was on this team, probably. So that's encouraging because George Pickens dictates that because you cannot leave him on the other side. And then when they move Quinyon Mitchell over to CD, CD at that point is still getting obvious separation, obviously open. So Pickens and that will come, and there's going to be weeks. People are going to have different plans. That's the other thing we need to be prepared for as Cowboys fans as we watch the development of the passing game. There will be weeks where Pickens is the matchup. And at this point in Dak's career, I think he's so much more equipped to handle of where to navigate the football, where the football needs to go. Tonight, the football was going where it needed to go in terms of open man, in space, winning the matchup. He just wasn't catching the ball for whatever reason. So George Pickens will get his. The thing with George is just staying mentally sharp and engaged. He did get carried away when he got his personal foul penalty, but for the most part, he was blocking. Like George is a good football player. Came up with a big catch on one of those last drives in the fourth quarter. Good football player, and he can't get credit. He can't get yards for PIs, but the PI he generated was 40 yards, 40, 45 yards on that deep throw where he almost one-handed it. How valuable is that to your team? If they got credit for PI, George Pickens is almost at 100 yards in terms of what he was responsible for helping us get. So those are yards that those pass interference calls, like CD got pass interference calls, George Pickens, the better receivers are going to get PIs because you see Adoree Jackson and they freak out. If they don't get the right jam and the release doesn't come, or the release comes for the receiver, like they freak out immediately and they get so grabby. Look at Adoree Jackson on the first goal line fade. He, as soon as CD got over top leverage, he was tackling the dude. We're going to see a lot of that this year. And we will see more space just with us having a running game and a legitimate number 2 receiver. The space for throws. I remember the last time Dak went to Philly, 2023. Played very well. We lost. Played very well in that game. That was the game where he stepped out of bounds on I think it was the 2-point conversion. But he played very, very well in that game. But what I remember is the amount of contested small window you're throwing. You talk about some of those balls he threw into the seam tonight. There was only a few of them. That game, literally to move the ball, he was throwing into windows like this big. And tonight, think about the Dak's throwing windows tonight. It looked more like what all the other quarterbacks get. And that's an encouraging sign. The throwing windows were way better. And that's something I've had a problem with going back even to Kellen Moore before Mike McCarthy got here. It always felt like we just didn't get space and separation for our guys. Now, I think it's a combination of things. I think Turpin's presence on the field matters too, because you can't just have anybody covering Turpin. The Eagles are fortunate that they have somebody like Andrew Makuba, who played very well tonight. I miss you, Andrew. But they were very fortunate that they had somebody like that was comfortable when he flexed out. But not all teams have that type of personnel. So some people are going to be in a bind having to make decisions about a safety on Turpin or a safety on this person. That's why it's imperative the tight ends get going. That's the last phase. If the tight ends get going, this offense will be back at the top, even with the running backs. If this offense will be back at the top, because the space is already better for the receivers. Dak was throwing into one of the problems that people I think had with Dak, with accuracy and his accuracy, but I think a lot of it was he was being asked to throw into the tightest windows seemingly every down, every game. Very rarely did he just get free access throws to his guys. That happened, and it's crazy how you can get in a rhythm. It looked like his early years. His early years, he had space because we were running the ball with Zeke. It was pick your poison. That's what you want. That's what the Cowboys are to me when they're at their best. So we got something to build on. They have to beat the Giants. So I'm about to wrap up. They have to beat the Giants. You cannot go 0-2, especially 0-2 in the division. They got to even it out. They have extra time to get rest after this game. But we need Jake Ferguson. We need 2023 Jake Ferguson. I mean, he wasn't bad today, but it just, you know, we're talking about the additional space and making plays on some of these guys. He's still needed to keep the middle of the field honest for if anything else. But overall, it sucks to lose. I hate Philly, but we've. I'm cautiously optimistic with what I saw with the run scheme. I think Clayton Adams. I know his influence is there because I saw the same structured runs that I saw them doing in Arizona, where James Conner was eating. So I'm encouraged there. It'd be nice to have some better backs that can maximize this yards. I like Javante, but I'm talking about the room. Hunter Lepke got an extension recently. Did he play other than special teams? Did he even play? So questions I have about that. Um, they need to work on pass pro a little bit more though, especially when they know like whether it's 2 minute drill or you're behind. We got to throw because when Dak's in rhythm like that, you really got to give him time. The only thing when your quarterback gets hot like that, the biggest thing that can slow them down is if they can't even get time back there to get into their stuff, to get into their reads, to get into their drops. So, um, we got to be more consistent there. We weren't always bad but the pass blocking would have been worse if Jalen Carter was there. So we got to be better. And you know, I'm excited to look at the film, but I know, especially after the weather delay, a lot of missed blocks. Tyler Guyton did play well though. Wasn't perfect, but I thought he was. I see improvement, which is what you want to see in year two. I definitely see improvement. Obviously, Brandon Aubrey continues to be flawless to me. Yeah, but it sucks. 0 points in the second half and a turnover. Those are the differences in the game. 0 points in the second half, a turnover. That's going to beat you. And then you add the drops. That's why you didn't score. That's why you didn't score. Anything else we got to touch on, chat, before I bounce? BB's coming along. I'm not, but I think you're talking about pass pro. Because I thought in the run game, I thought they were all wrecking shit. Who are the Commanders? Who are we? Yeah, I'm with you, ZT. I'm with you, ZT. At least let it be the guy with the game breaking speed. I'm done with. I'm I'm done with the Miles Sanders stuff. That may sound like an overreaction or seem like overreaction. I hope he proves me wrong. If he stays with the team, I would root for all Cowboys. But it's just like so obvious why that was the reason why he was let go from these teams, and then for it to happen again. It's like which of these Penn State backs is not like the other? Oh, I'm glad you brought up. Okay, Evan brought up Tolbert. He might be cooked. He might be on the cook list to me too. I know Mingo is on a PUP with the PCL injury, and that's that's you know we have limited depth. I know Flournoy's on the roster. Will physical tools are there. How much he's caught on, I don't know, but I mean, somebody's got to be better. I don't think Jalen Tolbert's that good. I don't think he's a bad or terrible football player, but like, what is he good at? To me, he's more of a body catcher. He doesn't use his as big as he is, or for the size he has. He doesn't use his size as well as I'd like to see. He's not as athletic as I thought he was going to be coming out of college. It's not a burner. And on top of that, I just see too many mistakes. Yes, and you could tell he was running the wrong route on that CD1 because CD would have had even more space. Because when you run the wrong route, I'm like, there's no way two receivers are supposed to be right there when Dak is throwing post. When Dak is throwing post like that, why the hell are you so close? And I know he was throwing to CD. He wasn't throwing it to you. Now, that's not to let CD off the hook for dropping that ball because the ball was thrown so freaking well that it didn't matter that it was as Shannon used to say, walk it to him. But I don't know, like the play in the back of the end zone. I know we ended up scoring a touchdown on that, but when Dak went boot left and Jalen Tolbert stops running to the pylon, he's like jogging, and I don't know. There's just this nervous energy I get with him where he doesn't seem all the way sure of what he's doing. Like I don't see when a player is confused or not confident, you'll see a lot of hesitation. And I just see too much hesitation from Jalen Tolbert. I do. I do. He doesn't like. What is he good at? Struggling and blocking. But I see more. Yeah, Dak was talking to him after that rollout. Yeah, Evan, you peep what I saw. If he kept running full speed, Dak is going to throw that ball to the pylon so he either runs through it and catches it and goes out of bounds and it's a touchdown, or it's incomplete out of bounds. But because he ran a shitty route, I gotta throw it away. It's like, bro, you sprint. I don't know. Just, I mean, it's like the confidence never came through. I mean, he's not even where Cedric Wilson was before Cedric Wilson went and signed that big contract in Miami when he left here. And at that time, Cedric Wilson was essentially wide receiver 4, but he was a really good wide receiver 4. Like to me, Tolbert is he better than Noah Brown was? I mean, Noah Brown had his struggles, but at least Brown could block. So I don't even know if I can say Tolbert's better than Noah Brown. I've really got to see an uptick with him, or else, to me, that might be something where you need to try to upgrade in season. I'm serious because Turpin's like our gadget, like, but he's being used at least this game used correctly. So I don't even know if I count Turpin as a true wide receiver 3 because there's times where we're more 21 personnel when he's in the game and he's in the backfield than and how I would view him then as like a slot receiver or outside guy, if that makes sense, right? So, you know, when Mingo comes back, you know, CD can slide into the slot. Like there's a lot of things you can do. Um and hopefully Mingo was plays with some at least some of the confidence I saw him playing with in the preseason. I thought he's light bulb was starting to come on a little bit, but Tolbert to me right now is not it. I hate to be that blunt, but I just don't see it. I don't see it, and I think the Cowboys can do better at that position. like to me, it's like almost I rather have an older guy that I trust that maybe can't run anymore, but at least I know he's not going to do stuff like that and leave me out to dry. I mean, Tolbert's the same receiver, and I'm picking on him right now. It is what it is. Tolbert is the same receiver that hung Dak out to dry. I think it was in the Baltimore game where he didn't come back to the ball at all. Like he allowed the defender just to go straight across his face with no effort. And Tom Brady was like, if a receiver ever did that to me, I'm never throwing the ball to him again. That's what he said. I'll never forget that. I'm pretty, please correct me if I'm wrong. If that wasn't about Jalen Tolbert, I take it back. But I remember, if y'all remember that broadcast, I think it was the Ravens game, and it was a pick. And, people love to just go straight to, people like to blame Dak even when he throws a touchdown. But that particular play where the receiver clearly allows the dude to cross his face, runs a very poor route. Tom Brady's like, I can't trust you. And he was like, if that was me. Like, the man didn't even say, I'm going to go have a conversation with the dude. He said, I'm done with you. I can't trust you. Can't be out here. That's how high level this is. This ain't college, my boy. This ain't college, sis. This is real life. This is the league. Look how that one ball, I'll give credit to CD, that one ball, I think it was towards the end of the first half, Dak scrambling to his left. It's the way CD Lamb works back to the football. That's NFL wide receiver play. Or the ball, or Pickens, the way when Pickens is has a contested catch, the way Pickens, Collinsworth talked about him extending his arms, his arm extension. Like, those are, you have to protect your quarterback at this level because the windows are so small and there's not that much space. So you guys cannot allow defenders just to be working back to, like, protect me and protect the rock for the team. But I think Tolbert struggles with that. Like, what does he do well? Not to say that he hasn't had good plays or positive plays as a Cowboy, but I'm sorry. Like, and again, I'm talking this way because in the NFL, like, I'm way more blunt when it comes to NFL than the grace I give to college because it's just a different level. But at this level, I'm sorry. I don't think Tolbert's a player. I don't. I hope I'm proven wrong. But I think that's a weakness for us. He gives me the shakes every time Dak targets him, even if he's open. And maybe I don't know. That's just how I feel. We need a Cole Beasley to settle under coverages. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, really, that guy is mostly CD Lamb, but we don't have another like slot guy. Blah blah blah. Like, it's pretty much CD Lamb. That's that guy. Jalen Tolbert was supposed to be at worst Michael Gallup. He's not even close. He's not even close to what MG was. Prime MG. Prime MG was a good receiver. It was a good number two, number three receiver. He's not even close to what that was. Have we seen flashes of him do some things? Yes. I've seen moments where I'm like, Jen, so you are a good athlete, but where's the extra stuff? I think you want to continue with versatility, Evan. So yes, I think you want to show those looks. I also want them lining up on the same side. I like when they're on the same side or a 3-by-1, and the other side is flex to the tight end. I like those. I like those sets. I like those sets. So just to be, um, you know, but CD can win on the outside as well. We know that, and we've seen him beat number one corners before. So you want to use him all over, but Yeah, especially when that's why I'm like, hey, the more you line up CD and Pickens on the same side, now you really are in a bind defensively. Because it's hard. Like let's say CD's carrying a bracket, it's hard to bracket like that when you still worried about the other guy going off and they're right next to each other. That's why I'm like, if the tight end can get going with consistency, Dak's going to throw for 4,500 yards, if not more, probably more, if they can get that stuff together. And that's with him having only 188 tonight because of the drops and because of people like Tolbert running the wrong route into somebody else running posts. But I would like to see them on the same side as much as possible. I think you can get real good data when they're on the same side, lining up together. All right. Well, I got to get to bed because I gotta get up for work in the morning. And this was longer than I wanted, but the conversation, Evan, ZT, Rock the Drums, David, everybody that's been in here um, all night, Drew, just real good, consistent banter. Congratulations to your freaking Eagles. But this is tough. This is tough. I'm not happy. I'm looking forward to getting back and getting a win and getting 1-1 and seeing this team develop. But I'm not happy about this loss. I think we really, really blew a really nice opportunity. I really do. We blew an opportunity today. And that stings, especially when it's against a team you hate in the Philadelphia Eagles. But we'll be back. I will sleep on this a little bit. And then when I have some clarity, I'll probably jump on with a friend to unpack a little bit more of this game and move on to the Giants. So appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe the whole bit. It's free to show love, help the channel out. But peace. Have a good night.